Of course, say hello to everybody joining us now and in the future. Bengt? Är du där, Bengt?
Absolut.
Var du där, Bengt?
Ja, hör du mig?
Ja, bra. Den där länken på slutet, var den möjlig att köra? Såg du det mejlet?
Var det en film eller?
Ja, just det. Lucia, YouTube.
Nej, film är inget.
Okay.
Jag skulle behöva ha det och ladda upp den i systemet.
Då struntar vi i det. Okay. I think that it's time, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2:00 p.m. in Stockholm. It's 8 o'clock in the morning in New York, US. And it's 9 o'clock, right, Gene, in Macau?
Yes. 9 p.m.
Wonderful. Okay, so today's webinar will be held in English, or in my case, Swinglish, I guess. And I wish you all a hearty welcome to GMIC Sweden. And for the first time, we actually not only welcoming you from Stockholm, we're welcoming you from Macau and from New York. My name is Bergkvist, and I'm a sustainability advisor based here in Stockholm in my company SleepWell, and I've been working with GMIC for the last 8-9 years or so. This is rather a special day for Stockholm. We should start where I happen to be. It is right now the Nobel Prize Award ceremony and the royal banquet is being prepared here in Stockholm. And the Nobel Prize banquet with 1,300 guests or so takes place at the Blue Hall at the City Hall of Stockholm. And that's an eco-labeled venue. It's eco-labeled with the Nordic Swan. The Nordic Swan is a voluntary eco-labeling scheme that makes it easy for people to make a smart choice when it comes to environmental sustainability. And there are today over 8,500 products and services to choose from today. We also just learned that 2 of the Sustainable Destinations Global Top 100 that were released today, 2 are Swedish. One is Sigtuna, which is a city just on the border of Stockholm, and actually the cradle of Sweden, our first city. And they got it for their excellent work in creating cooperation within the community when it comes to sustainability. And the other one is Kosterhavet on the west coast of Sweden. It's our first marine national park and contains Sweden's highest marine biodiversity, and it's a stunning destination. So it's a bit of a special day for Sweden and Stockholm today. Moving on, Bengt, our producer, I think we have just a few slides on GMIC Sweden, which I would like you to ask to share with the audience. It's thanks to Adobe Presenter here with us in a second, I think. I would like to start by mentioning our founders of GMIC Sweden. GMIC Sweden is the local chapter of Green Meetings Industry Council, the local Swedish chapter. And if it wasn't for those organizations and corporations and companies, we wouldn't exist. And they represent, I guess, the majority of the Swedish event and meetings business. This is our 3rd webinar this year, and actually the 10th webinar since this webinar series started a couple of years ago when GMIC Sweden was founded. And we are continuously building up a library of webinars covering topics from food waste to what is sustainability to best practices and good examples and great initiatives like the ones that we're going to hear about today. The majority of our viewers at the webinars actually join us after the actual recording. So once again, let me welcome not only you that are with us now today live, but also all our future viewers. I am, of course, very honored to present to you Today's presenters, it's Jenifer Willig, who is the co-founder of the exciting new sustainable business model, Whole World Water. And as said, Jenifer is joining us from New York. And Jean Capuano, who is the Vice President of Convention and Exhibition Operations at the Venetian Macao and the Conrad Macao, and will tell us about sands in China, and he's joining us from Macau. Our producer today is Bergkvist at Taraxacom.com, and our chat is run by GMIC's own Simon Strandvik from greentime.se. So please use our chat during the webinar. We will also, at the end of today's webinar, be addressed by our president of GMIC Sweden, Patrik Dyrendal. He's from Nordic Cinema Group, which is the largest cinema operator in the Nordic and Baltic countries and operating in 80 major mid-sized cities, and they are one of our founders. And actually, I am today sitting in and broadcasting from their premises in Filmstaden outside Stockholm, which is the studio where Greta Garbo once did her debut 90 years ago, almost on the day. So by that, I would like to start by introducing our first presenter a little bit more deeply. So if you, Bengt, would be kind enough to change to Jenifer's presentation, it's my pleasure to welcome Jenifer Willig. Jenifer is the founder of Whole World Water, a social enterprise designed to raise money for clean and safe water initiatives around the world. Formerly, Jenifer led RED, the organization founded by Bono and Bobby Shriver to fight AIDS in Africa. Through her leadership, the RED brand raised $185 million for people living with HIV and harnessed millions of people to advocate on behalf of RED. Prior to that, Jenifer spent her career in advertising on global brands including AT&T, Levi Strauss & Co., British Airways, the Financial Times, to mention a few. And in 2013, she was named one of the 10 most generous marketing genius by Catch and Fire's Generosity Series. And she was recognized as one of the 40 women over 40 to watch. It's a true pleasure to introduce to you Jenifer Willig. Please, Jenifer, the stage is yours.
Hi, thank you. It's very nice to be here, JP. So I think my slides are up. I'm just going to go through a little bit of the inspiration behind Whole World Water and really the business model behind it and why we're so passionate about this. I think to start off, the inspiration behind Whole World Water was based on the simple fact that you see here on the slide, that today over 1 billion people live without access to clean and safe drinking water, and nearly 2.5 billion without basic sanitation. So this is accessibility to clean and safe drinking water is a global issue that is literally affecting every country on the planet. I think what makes Whole World Water unique is our approach, though. So, issues like the global water crisis need innovation and collaborative business models to help fund the diverse solutions that are required to help solve this global issue, because this is definitely something that is not a one-size-fits-all in terms of the solutions that are needed. So hold on, let me see if I can make my slides change. So moving right along. So Whole World Water, we look at as one of these solutions because we are a business model designed to unite the hospitality and tourism industry to raise funds for the global water crisis. We begin with a very simple premise that positive change and an investment from an industry requires a business model that focuses on sustainable and profitable growth. Because for sustainability to really drive profitability and impact over time, we strongly believe that it must be embedded into the business processes. It goes beyond CSR or giving program, and these are quite important to a more something that can be woven into how a company does business in hospitality and tourism. Because as our population grows, businesses are going to be forced to adapt to sustainable models in order to thrive. I think what we're seeing in the growth of 9 billion people on the planet by 2050, the resources needed for that growth, but the pressures on our natural resources, on water, on renewable energy, it's just going to get more exacerbated. So looking at innovative models is going to be a big part of this. So we position ourselves as a new way to do business on Earth that unites a single industry, that drives the bottom line and focuses on collaboration. So it's a very simple model. Sorry, I keep getting mixed up on my arrows. It's a very easy model. A hotel, a restaurant, a convention center, or a spa. Actually, we're expanding all of the types of members that we have, becomes a member of Whole World Water. As a member, they become a part of a global marketing campaign, and they get all of the materials that they need to be able to educate their employees and their guests. Step 2 is they agree to provide filtered, still and sparkling water to their guests in reusable glass bottles. And step 3 is they agree to contribute at least 10% of the proceeds to the Whole World Water Fund. And 100% of this money is used to fund clean and safe water initiatives around the world. We look at it as a win-win-win-win because our members are reducing costs by providing their own water versus buying commercially bottled water. They're increasing their revenue because there is a cost model to it. They are significantly decreasing their plastic waste and significantly increasing funds needed by coming together. Because we're not exaggerating when we say that by uniting this industry, we could annually raise up to $1 billion. I mean, just with the top 10 hotel brands selling 1 bottle of water per guest per day, we could see $1 billion raised annually. So we look at this as an opportunity to unite a single industry on a non-competitive platform. So that's something that is quite unique for us. To date, we have almost a little over 100 members. We have 8 projects on the ground now as a result of the sale of Whole World Water. And as this kind of democratic platform, we are looking at members who are, in general, can be quite competitive with each other, from the Ritz-Carlton to Soneva Group to Tao Restaurant Group to Virgin Hotels, Virgin Limited Edition, Auberge Resorts. So in the general, these companies are quite competitive, yet coming together on the Whole World Water platform to help fund clean and safe water initiatives. And then on the flip side, the way we are also we are a funder, not an implementer. So we have the opportunity to bring together charities all around the world to help fund the quite unique solutions they have. So like I said, we have 7 projects on the ground going right now, 5 in Cambodia, 1 in Uganda, and 1 in India, working with multiple charities. So it is quite a unique model that we're seeing with Whole World Water, and the enthusiasm for it has been quite exciting. But beyond being able to fund clean and safe water initiatives, we're also looking at being able to reduce food miles by not shipping commercially bottled water around the world. We're looking at eliminating plastic waste, as I had talked about before, diminishing toxic chemicals, because providing filtered, still and sparkling water directly from your local water source is a much more healthier alternative. And then finally, first and foremost, we can talk about the marketing aspect of it, which is quite significant. And I think one thing I would like to say that I saw with Red, and I'm seeing even more with Whole World Water, is the opportunity to excite employees around this. The hospitality and tourism industry employs a significant number of people, and it creates quite an army of people who are advocating on behalf of clean and safe drinking water. So one of the added benefits for our members is being able to, the way we look at it, is mobilize their employees and really inspire them, because this is what young people are looking for today, is the values that are aligned with the values of the companies they work for, aligning with their own values. And we're seeing of our members around Whole World Water. So much so, in fact, we've created a new program called the Whole World Water Champions, where each member, hotel, restaurant, resort, and spa can nominate one champion, and we'll be profiling them throughout the year. And then our board of trustees together will look at all of the champions and nominate a champion of the whole world, and they will they will be awarded a trip to one of our member resorts for two with all expenses paid. So it becomes something that we are using to incentivize employees, and really they are first and foremost at the front lines of helping us educate guests and people in general about the crisis and about Whole World Water. So it's been we look at it as this business model that is looking at increasing the bottom line, increasing opportunities to provide funding for clean and safe water projects, having the opportunity to unite their workforce, and then looking at the first ever kind of industry-wide sustainability campaign that is going to change the lives of so many people. So we are in heavy recruitment mode right now. So if there are hotels, restaurants, resorts, and spas around the world, we'd love to get them on board. Are you there?
Wonderful. Jenifer, thank you so much for this opening talk. A few questions from my side, and I'm sure we will have a couple of questions from others as well. Last week, I personally had the opportunity to and the pleasure to participate in a breakfast here in Stockholm, hosted by Whole World Water, and with one of your representatives or ambassadors, Sir Richard Branson, presenting.
Yes.
I also know that a person who I personally see is perhaps the leader in sustainability within the hospitality industry, Sonu Shivadasani, the owner of Sonoma Resorts and the CEO of that company, is with you and behind your organization. What would you say that there and your objective is, if you, let's say, 5 years from now, how big part of the water market is Whole World Water, the hospitality industry?
Our whole point is being able to create something that hotels, that this industry can embed into their business model. So by the end of next year, we'd like to see 500 members on board and see that exponentially increase over time. I think, to your point, Sonu and Richard both are tremendous examples of how sustainability can drive business forward. I think they have both seen this. I don't think either one of them would be doing this if it wasn't a good business opportunity for them and they weren't seeing it driving their business. They weren't losing money on it. So I think for us, we hope our members get inspired by having a business model that is increasing their bottom line, to take a look at other kind of supply chain opportunities within their network. So it starts with water, and then hopefully in 5 years, they are actually looking at other parts of their business to help expand that into a more sustainable type of business management. But I think you picked the two best examples there of people who are smart business people who are doing things the right way, because it's the smart way to do business.
I read somewhere that your fund is a perpetual fund. What does it mean? Could you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So the way we look at, we have several vetting criteria for our grant application, and one of those is commerce creation. So we would like the projects that we are investing in to create commerce within the community, so that this isn't just a one-time solution. We are looking at building a sustainable model for the communities that we're investing in. We are also exploring right now the opportunities to, because of the types of projects we're funding, to be able to look at the carbon market for the carbon reduction based on the types of projects that are on the ground. We are still exploring that, but that money that we would be making from the carbon market would be reinvested back into the fund.
Okay. Another question from my side would be, what criteria do you have for the companies joining you? And do you see that there is a risk for greenwashing that could hurt your or affect your brand negatively?
I mean, I think greenwashing is a risk across the board from a sustainability standpoint. For us, not really, because they have to provide still and sparkling filtered water to their guests. So there is a capital investment that is needed, and there is a type of product that they are providing to their guests. So it's not, we don't really run that risk because of the business model. So I would be more concerned if we were just a marketing campaign, but the fact that we are embedded in the business makes it something that, you know, they have to change the way they do business, or if there are many hotels and restaurants are already filtering their water, so, you know, they're kind of halfway there. The only requirement that we have is that they provide the filtered still and sparkling water, and that, you know, it's not really a requirement, it's more an asset on their side that they help to market it and educate their employees and their guests. We don't mandate that they use a particular type of filtration system. They absolutely can. You know, many of our hotels and restaurants are the 4 and 5 star, and their chefs have a certain palette that they're looking for and the types of water that they're doing. So the chefs definitely have a voice in the type of filtration system they're bringing on board. So we are absolutely open to that. And we also don't mandate what they sell their water for, because our members know their guest threshold much better than we do. The only thing that we require is that they provide at least 10%. Some of our members are providing more. Some of our members who are providing it for free are doing a guest surcharge. So we're very, very flexible. The thing that we'd like to do is just get as many people on board to help fund this crisis as we can.
And as many bottles put away from the roads, I guess. How
Yes.
many bottles do you actually put away from the road every day? Do you know that, or is that a KPI, or what kind of KPIs are you following in order to see whether the success is growing fast enough?
Well, it's funny you're asking that. But, you know, we are still quite new. We're just a little over a year old, so we don't have all of the data in. But we do have some examples, and we're just starting to work with a new platform called Conserve, which is a dashboard that allows our members to track the water sales, to track their profits, and to track their CO2 reduction, because they're not providing commercially bottled water. And what we're seeing in just one example, a large restaurant here in New York, within 6 months, I think they got something like 1 million bottles out of the waste stream. So I don't have those exact numbers, but I will, because we will be providing the dashboard on our website by second quarter of next year. So I think that's one of the things. We are very transparent. I think you'll see in one of the we are one of the only kind of social enterprises that puts our contracts on our website, that puts our marketing on our website, that basically a member could join Whole World Water without having ever to talk to myself or my co-founder, Karina Albers, because we are trying to be as transparent as we possibly can. So come second quarter, when we revise the website, we'll be having all of the dashboard up there so everyone can see the progress that we're making.
That's great. We're in the age of transparency, I guess.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And if you have the possibility to stay with us, I'll appreciate that, because now we're moving on. Our next person in the air is Jean Capuano. Jean is Vice President of Convention and Exhibition Operations at the Venetian Macao and the Conrad Macao. And he will tell us about Sands China Limited, the leading developer, owner, and operator of multi-use integrated resorts and casinos in Macau. To counter-effect the environmental impacts of the size of their corporation, Sands implemented the Sands Eco 360 Global Sustainability Program. This year, they were awarded IMEX Green Supplier Award that recognizes a meeting supplier that has made innovative efforts to reduce the environmental impact of their operations. And this is just one of numerous awards they've received over the years. Jean, I'm looking forward to hear more about your great work. The stage is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for having me here. And Jenifer, that was a great presentation as well. It's always good to get information shared across the world. There's a lot to learn, I think, from all sides. Just really quickly, I never take for granted that there are a lot of people that don't know where Macau is. 6 years ago, when I was asked to come here, I had no idea where it was either until I looked at the map. We're about 30 kilometers south of Hong Kong, and part of our company here is the Venetian Resort, which is 3,000 rooms, and then we also have a franchise in Holiday Inn Conrad, amongst another property that we are going to be opening up in 2016. And I think one of the most important things that when I talk about sustainability in our programs that we have is we do a lot, but we're also one of the biggest culprits because of the size of buildings that we have, the resources that we use, the water that we use, the energy that we use, all of these things put together, we are a culprit. So it's partially our social responsibility to make sure that we have plans in place to be able to offset that. And so hopefully today, I know whether you're a big company or a small company, when I came to Asia and realized that sustainability wasn't a hot topic here, it wasn't something that was, the number 1, 2, or 3 on organizers' checklist by coming to a hotel. It was a different outlook for me when working with clients, and we had to take a sensitive approach to it. So the company, which we also have properties in Las Vegas, of course, in Pennsylvania and Singapore, developed a Sands Echo 360 program, which my part of it is the meetings program, which really focuses on working with our clients on different sustainability objectives that they can put forth for their meeting. And again, learning about different parts of the world, here in Asia and in China mainly, which is about 85% of our convention business currently, it's not always something that's easy to convince our clients to look at sustainability efforts, what they can do within their meetings, how they can conserve, how they can limit their waste, things like that. So we've tried to put together a program that's sensitive in that respect, but also can really focus on the amount of waste and the carbon footprint that's put out by these massive events that we put on. I've just put a few of the topics here on the first slide, but I'm gonna move along to the second slide. Now, I was in Las Vegas for 5 years doing the same thing, convention and exhibition operations, before I came here to Asia. And all of the big companies, the McDonald's, the HPs, the Intels, IBMs, a lot of automotive companies, they were looking for properties that would only have a sustainability policy and initiatives in place. If properties didn't have those, they weren't going to consider you to bring their conference. And so that was something that was very hot in Las Vegas and in the US. But when I came here to Asia, it was just new. A lot of these international companies are moving factories, manufacturing plants and things like that into China. And this was still a new thing for us to really put together. So the good thing now is those clients, those bigger international corporations that are here, they're obviously very interested in looking at what our environmental policy is, recycling programs, how we reuse, how we donate. I mean, you look at our single property alone, and we've got 12,000 employees in one of the properties, and we're feeding 3 meals a day in our own team member dining room. The food wastage in that alone is massive, and these are things that we really, really have to pay attention to on a daily basis. Energy conservation efforts, the water conservation, obviously with one 3,000 room property and 9,000 rooms, the amount of water consumption is always something that we have to take a look at. Here in Macau, as many other places in the world, in the summertime it gets very, very humid. We have a 1.2 million square foot conference center that we have to run air conditioning basically 24 hours a day during the summertime, or else it just gets too humid and the building responds to that in a negative way, where we've got a lot of repairs and things. So we've got a lot of things that we had to really, really look at that were important for us to make sure to minimize as best as we can. one of the things that that we also looked at when we put together our Eco 360 was obviously there's a lot of brand hotels that are out there, the Hyatts, the Marriotts, the Hiltons, Starwood, all of them, they've all got very reputable sustainability practices. They all have their own types of green meeting programs that they offer to their clients. So obviously to do that research was important to us. Meanwhile, we franchise Conrad, which is under the Hilton brand, as well as a Holiday Inn here in IHG. So we're actually able to use those and learn from those and those properties. And we adapted a lot of those things into the Sands Eco 360 program. We learned as we went. Obviously, you know, we're doing conferences that have anywhere from 12,000 up to 20,000 people. We have a massive arena here that we can also use. So all of these things we took from our own learning as we go practices has really helped us in putting this total program together. One of the most important areas that in the convention exhibition side is we've created a green meeting concierge. This person is really dedicated to work with our clients prior to their arrival here. Again, we still have a lot of groups that are out of mainland China that aren't always easily persuaded into saving water or going from bottled waters to using the 5-gallon dispensers, looking at no idle policies for the massive transportation that takes place here. But what we try and do is really sit down with them in advance and really try and work out at least a few objectives for their meetings. So at least they have a benchmark from doing a conference at our property to possibly the next one that they do the next year. We don't charge for this service. We have people that we just assign that will go through this, and they actually start right from the beginning, trying to identify and walk through our clients' objectives. And again, this is anything from no pads and pens on tables to no idling for transportation. We do a full analyzation of their travel, the carbon footprint that's put out forth from all of their travel that comes into Macau and through Hong Kong. We put all of that together with them so that they really have a detailed idea of what type of a footprint their event is putting in the environment. One of the other things that we also look at doing is here in Macau, we don't have any farmlands here, so we look at organics, obviously, for menu selections. We use a lot of meats out of Australia. Again, this was another challenge for us that we didn't realize. Australia is not so close to Macau, but again, we don't have a lot of resources that are very close. So we've got to balance that, bringing in organic type foods from other countries, as well as trying to find as close as we can farmlands in mainland China to be able to offset getting produce, fruits, vegetables, all those things into Macau for our conferences. A lot of the things that we're trying to do, and we're really looking at going to an opt-out in our property in Las Vegas, is going to a full opt-out program to where all of their sustainability practices will be put forth, and then the clients would have the option to opt out of it. We're slowly but surely being able to put this together. You know, basically, we've got a recycling program here. We've had to do a lot of research. We have groups that actually go into mainland China to make sure that what we're sending over there is going to recycling plants. That's metals, that's wood, that's plastics. We don't have any plants here in Macau. Macau's a pretty small area. It's there's a population of 600,000 people here. So we're really going across the border into mainland China to be able to do a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish with our recycling and of all different types of materials. A lot of transportation here. We run our own shuttle service, which is almost the size of the entire public fleet of buses in Macau. We've got close to 80 of our own shuttles that run from all the border gates, from the airport, from the ferry terminal. Again, those of you who might not be completely familiar with Macau, when you fly into Hong Kong, there's still another ferry ride that takes about an hour from the airport to get into Macau from Hong Kong. We also run our own ferry services, so you know the fuels that are used for that are all really, really important for us to analyze. We're starting to go to battery operated buses, which we've got 2 of them that we're testing out here. We're installing some wind turbines on our roofs here to be able to generate more power to be able to run the batteries for the buses. But again, regardless of how big our company is, we're a big user of resources as well. So a lot of this stuff we're really just offsetting because of the massive size of an operation that we're running. As I mentioned before, one of the things that we really work on is identifying green meeting options to our clients, helping them define a goal, whether it's 1 goal, 3, 5, depending on the nature of their business and really how involved they want to get. It's important for us to have different initiatives for them. We also run our own audiovisual department here. So some of the things that we do is run an incentive, possibly giving discounts on audiovisual for meetings if they choose to do a green meeting and identify 3 objectives. So we're really trying to push from a company perspective to involve our clients in this type of a program. We were just certified about 6 months ago with the ISO 20121 certification, which has also helped us a lot internally to be able to really capture and understand how our system works, and if there's breakdowns, how we're able to find those breakdowns in our own system, repair them so that externally we're more resourceful. Also, again, as I mentioned before, the event impact statement has proven to be very beneficial for a lot of our new clients who had never done green meetings before. We really wanted to make sure that all of our clients, when they do a green meeting, they can walk away with some really, really good, detailed information about their program, how much energy and water they consumed, as much of the carbon footprint as far as their travel in and out of Macau left. What can we do as far as donating into the local community? Volunteer hours. We try and get involved in the community quite a bit. Again, here in Macau, if you were to look 5 or 6 years ago, you didn't see a whole lot of information regarding sustainability, common practices like that. So not only are we trying to do community projects, but we're trying to do, you know, beach cleanups with the community. We invite community into the property, whether it's young students from elementary schools all the way up to the elderly. We're trying to just involve them and show them the things that we're doing, and hopefully they can take that home with them and on a smaller scale be able to accomplish the same things that that we do on a large scale. Few of the things that was really, really impactful for us recently is we brought in a group of students that were in 4th grade, so they were approximately 10 years old, and we put together 3 or 4 activities with them as far as sustainability, and it was really, really amazing when we took them around the property, introduced them to some of the initiatives taking place around the property. The great questions that a 10-year-old has and understanding massive operations like we have, and the genuine concern that they really have and understand for what their future is going to be like when when they can really see the amount of energy spent, when they can really look at and understand the amount of water globally, not just in Macau, but globally that's being used, resources, the amount of manufacturing. I think a lot of the impact is we've got some information on waste that's put into the ocean and things like that. So I think having children come in and be able to see all this and ask a lot of questions, I think it became really good for our executives, including myself, to really see the genuine concern on children's faces. And then they've got these great questions that they ask. You know, how many light bulbs do we have on property? Telling them we have 500,000 light bulbs, and being able to tell them that we're in process of replacing all 500,000 light bulbs to more energy efficient LED bulbs, all of those things. You just see a real genuine impact on how they respond to those things. Just going back to this part of the world, I think comparatively, and learning as we go with these big programs that we have. Over the past probably 2 or 3 years, I think we've seen an increase, obviously, in pollution levels. Not just here, I think all over the world as manufacturing goes up and as countries are producing more and more, obviously our environment is affected by it. But one of the things that really hit us home when we were looking at putting together a very thorough program in Echo 360 was the fact that there's a lot of production going on in China, and we've got a lot of production companies that come into Macau that are companies that are doing a lot of the big trade shows here, and they're utilizing a lot of different materials, and just the effort that we have to try and push forward with them to make initiatives to be able to make it worth their while to do these things in conferences, in exhibitions. How do we show them that there's a value? How can we show them that they are saving money if they go to digital as opposed to manufactured signs and backdrops and things like that, what the end result is? So again, it was really important for us when we put this program together to not only be able to identify objectives, but also to give them the end result and hopefully put a dollar amount that really shows them outside of the environment how it's impacting in a positive way, but you know, to everyone's pocketbook, the value of what they're actually saving, and that's also helped us quite a bit. The last piece of the presentation is the cultural heritage, which I believe is important for any city in any country. When I went to the GMIC Sustainable Conference last year in San Francisco, we had some great tours there, and we were able to really get out into the community. And I thought it was amazing how involved the government is, how involved the community is, how involved all of the corporations are there, and how they're actually held responsible for making sure that they have initiatives before they get their business license to be able to do business in the city like that. But I think a lot of it too has to do with how you involve the cultural heritage, which isn't always on the forefront of sustainability. So I know with Macau, the history here, we really try to push our international groups to do a lot of things within Macau outside of the casino atmosphere, and really getting to see the cultural side of things here. Making a short trip to Hong Kong is also in a lot of itineraries as well, but that's something that we've really tried to put as a highlight for us, is to involve and get into the cultural heritage of our surroundings here as a Western company in Asia, and try and utilize that as much as we can. And that's basically it for the presentation. I did see a question go up on the screen there. This is my first time using this program as a speaker. not as an attendee. So
Thank you so much, Gene, for that presentation. It was really, really great to hear. And for sure there are a couple of questions, and I would like to start with one or two, and then I'll hand over to Simon, who have a few questions from the audience for both of you. But I would like to start by asking you, I mean, we all know that China, like rest of the world, is facing enormous sustainability challenges at the moment, and increasingly so in the future. How would you describe the general awareness in the society for those issues compared, for example, to the United States or to Europe, amongst you average on the street, amongst the governmental representatives and so on?
well, again, I've been here for 6 full years now, and I've seen a large increase of public awareness. Number one, you know, there's been a big outcry because of the pollution, but the other thing that we see here is all of the, we're all casino operators here, and along with casinos comes smoking and things like that, but we've all gone to a no smoking, the government put in a no smoking policy. So I think the last 2 years has been the community and the general public have become more aware of how it affects themselves, and I think that's having an impact on the government. The government is really being forced to be able to look at a lot of things that maybe 5 or 6 years ago weren't being looked at. You know, one of the things when I moved here, again going back to the pollution part of it, 4 or 5 years ago, if the pollution was bad enough, you were told, and this is probably more for northern China, the Shanghai, Beijing area, they would tell women and elderly folks and children to stay inside when the pollution is bad, and that's an initial indication that you're not going to stop manufacturing. You're not going to stop using fossil fuels. You need people to stay inside to protect themselves. Whereas now, you're seeing a lot more change. And the other thing too is, there's a lot of Western and international companies that are moving into China with their companies. Number one, because the rate of labor is much lower than it is, back at home in the States and other areas. But I believe that those companies also take their same philosophy that they had, whether they were manufacturing in the US or other areas. So it's becoming more of a norm here, and I think it's becoming more of it's an expectation now. And I think that the people here are really starting to realize that, you need to have a voice in these things to protect yourself, to protect your kids, and to protect the environment. So it's a good sign that things are coming around.
It's good to hear. I have one more question, and that's actually for both of you before I hand over to Simon for a couple of questions from the floor. I don't know if there is a virtual floor, but from cyberspace, and that is around public procurement. In Europe currently, there is a big debate, or actually it was a new law passed, a new bill passed here a year ago, that you are allowed to put environmental and sustainability demands when you put out RFPs to buy, well, actually whatever you try to buy for in a public procurement process. And obviously we see now the change, because before this you weren't allowed to put that demands on things. You would only price and quality. Now it's price, quality, and sustainability. Is that something happening? Let's start with Jenifer, that you know of in the States, perhaps, that the government, when they purchase hospitality services, that, for example, bottled water could be one thing that they could have as something that the hotels shouldn't have. They should rather have locally produced water.
Well, I think Jean just mentioned the city of San Francisco. It has been quite innovative in this. And so I want to say it was the beginning of this year, maybe in May, I don't know the exact date, but this year they passed a new, I don't want to say it's a law amendment that the city cannot, any event over 50 people cannot provide plastic bottled water. So they've banned plastic bottles throughout the city on any public events, which from our perspective is fantastic. And we hope that other cities will take that on board. I think San Francisco is quite aggressive and innovative when they come to sustainability challenges. There are a few other I know there's a town in Massachusetts that's doing it as well. And I want to say in Colorado. So we hope that this will continue to be something. I mean, New York City is obviously an innovative city in looking at sustainability issues as well. And I know there are some cities in Europe because from a plastic waste perspective, we do need to find an alternative for that because there's just nowhere to put it. And I think that we are seeing it. Sonu, I mean, this isn't a government thing, but Sonu and Shiv Dasani in the Maldives, he's banned plastic from both of his resorts as part of the Soniva group. So we'd like to see that continue to grow, not selfishly, because we'd like to see more members join Whole World Water and raise money for the issues that we need it, but I think for the planet as well. It's just there needs to be an alternative to the kind of waste stream that we're seeing happening all around the world. It's more of a city thing, actually. I think that we're seeing the mayors are really setting a nice sustainability agenda rather than a federal thing.
We're, where that type of a thing through procurement, our procurement processes it's really company to company here. It's not so much um, Macau in general. And again, Macau is such a small place, 600,000 people that's bordered. It's considered an administrative region of China. So in order for me to actually go to China, I have to cross the border into basically another country. But so we really have to pay attention, I think, as a corporation here on how our procurement process is. And again, you can imagine with the volumes that we do, it's something we have to look at. Just to touch on the food side of things, where we really have to be careful is you know, the food regulation in mainland China. It's not as strict as a lot of other places in the world, and we've got to be really careful as to those companies that we're utilizing from China. If you're talking about beef, poultry, things like that, I mean, we're reaching out to places like Australia. There are reputable places in China. I don't mean to say that there aren't, but there's a lot of places that you can get a lot of things in China, and you really have to be strict and make sure that you have your feelers out there to make sure that they're certified. So we on a company level have to pay more attention to it than really, I think, a government level or a region level.
And I actually think that's a very good point that Jean brought up, is I think we can start to see more accelerated change by brands taking on these measures rather than being mandated. I think that you'll find that it will be embraced a little more wholeheartedly rather than having it kind of be forced upon them. So I think that's something that we've seen quite a lot with some of the bigger companies, not just in hospitality and tourism, but in general.
Yes, sure. Do you hear me well? Can you hear me? Okay, I'll talk more direct into my microphone like this. Okay, I have three questions, two for you, Jean, and one for you, Jenifer. I will start with
Jennifer,
Simon,
um,
it's still very hard to hear you. Could you?
okay, I will speak really loud into my microphone. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Anyway, yeah.
Good.
Okay, that's good. Jennifer, I have a question from Petra. She wonders about the yeah, in the Nordic countries here around Sweden, we have safe water and hotels of and they are bottling their own water. What about the rest of the world? About the water safety? Do the guests feel safe? That's a
Great.
question
Well,
for Petra.
I'll answer that in two areas. One is, I think JP mentioned earlier, we did an event last week with Richard Branson and Johan Rockström, presenting whole world water to the industry in Stockholm. So the first thing is, if Nordic countries are already bottling their own water and providing it to their guests, they should all join Whole World Water, because they are halfway there. So I will throw that out there, that we'd love to have them as members. And then the second question on the rest of the world, I think we are not seeing that as much as maybe we anticipated, because of the types of hotels and resorts and restaurants that we have. They are typically 4- and 5-star hotels, and the level of service is kind of far exceeds guests' expectations. So we have not had any pushback and any of our resorts members, from the Maldives to, we have resorts in Thailand, to the Mauritius, to Africa, and there's been no pushback in terms of the water safety and the water quality. And I think that's because our hotel members are really vetting the filtration systems that they're using and the water that they're providing to their guests. So it is, I think the credit goes to our members for being able to provide the highest quality filtration available. So I think we've been quite pleased with that, and really quite impressed with them. When you have Virgin Limited Edition, and you have Jenifer Group, and you have the Nero Resorts, we really are kind of providing the best of the best.
It's good. It's a relevant question, I think.
Yes.
It's very good to hear. So Jean, I will ask you. We have a something called the Eco Label here in Sweden, called Svanen, and it's specifically for hotels and restaurants. And so we wonder how it works with your facilities. You said you work with the ISO standard, ISO 201, but how does it work? Do you have a third-party labeling, especially for these facilities? And also a second question is the eco-friendly, as you said. Is that an official eco label, or is that your own label?
No, well, the Eco 360 program, yeah, the Eco 360 program, that's the easy question. The Eco 360 program is our Las Vegas Sands title for our program. Eco-friendly, I think, is just something that we've adapted, probably like a lot of other people in different countries all over the world. I think it just sounds right when you're talking about sustainability and all the initiatives that go with it. As far as the labeling, we had to do, when we were considering either looking at the ISO certification, we looked at a lot of certifications, and I can tell you here, there's a lot of companies that have generated their own labels that I think are trying to, jump on a bandwagon of, hey, we've got this label, you should get certified through us, and then this is going to be your label that you can put at the bottom of every page. But there's a lot of them here, and so we really had to go through a pretty tight process to figure out which one was reputable, number one, because we're trying to reach out to an international market. Macau is still growing. Our company in Macau is still growing, and we felt that ISO was the right label to have, and we actually worked with MCI. They helped us through the initial stages of that process to get it. Both Roger was a big part of it. He helped us a lot through it, and so did Simon from MCI. But Yeah, it was really interesting because we had about 50 labels in front of us, certifications, which, you know, you could really see that they were generating them for financial purposes, not just because, you know, it was important environment. So we went through
Thank
quite a
you.
bit of
We need to
weeding
round
out.
up,
Yeah.
but okay, it's good to hear about the process. A lot of different eco labels. We can assure you that it's the same here in Sweden. But I want to just say a few words about GMIC Sweden before I hand over to you again, JP. We have just developed an e-learning that you can actually go educate yourself within sustainability from the natural step. It's in Swedish and it's also in English, so we're going to spread this after, to 2015. So just wanted to say that to all the other guys who are listening right now that it's going to be a really good e-learning after Christmas coming out. So we're really excited about this here in Sweden. I think that's about it, JP. Would you like to just thank Jenifer and Jean, because I think this has been very, very good. So I will hand over to you and let you say the good words to them. Well, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.